We are listening to the stories of Moses from the book of Exodus. Today's story is titled Moses and the Burning Bush. Exodus chapters 3 and 4. One day, Moses was right out in the desert with the sheep near Mount Horeb, or Mount Sinai as it was called. Suddenly, he saw a little way ahead a thorn bush on fire. So over he went to look at this strange sight. But most amazing of all, the fire burned on, and yet the bush was not consumed. Suddenly, as he watched, a voice called to him out of the bush, "Moses, Moses." And he answered, "Here I am." Then the angel said, for it was really the presence of the angel of the Lord that made the bush flame like fire, "Do not come near, Moses. Take off your shoes, because the ground where you are standing is holy ground." Moses did as he was told, with great fear in his heart. Then the voice spoke again, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." Immediately Moses hid his face. He was afraid to look even at the fire that spoke of God's presence. Then the Lord spoke again, "I have seen the terrible hardships of my people who are in Egypt. I have come now to free them from the cruel Egyptians and to bring them to a land that is so fertile it flows with milk and honey. I mean the land of Canaan, which I promised to their forefathers. Now, Moses, I have chosen you to send you to Pharaoh and to make you the leader to bring the children of Israel out of Egypt." Then God made him the wonderful promise to be with him and give him all the strength he needed. When they had left Egypt, the whole nation must travel to Mount Horeb, and there they must worship God. But Moses still hesitated. He had another question to ask. "When I go to the children of Israel and tell them that the God of their fathers has sent me to them, they will say to me, 'What is his name?' What shall I answer them?" God's answer was, "I am that I am. This is what you must say to the children of Israel. I am has sent me to you." So God told Moses to go to his own people, still suffering in Egypt. There he must tell them to gather all the elders or leaders of families together and explain to them why God had sent him. With the elders, he must go to Pharaoh and ask permission to take the Israelites a 3 days journey into the wilderness in order to sacrifice to God. But strangely, God told Moses that he knew Pharaoh would not allow them to go. Then God would stretch out his hand and punish Egypt by wonderful deeds. In the end, the people of Israel would come out of Egypt. Poor Moses was still afraid though. He was sure the Israelites would not listen to him. Then God gave him a sign. In his hand he had a rod, a walking stick, which he used when watching the sheep. God told him to throw it on the ground, and immediately it turned into a snake. Moses jumped back in fright, but God told him not to be afraid and to take hold of it by the tail. When he did so, the snake turned back into a walking stick again. Then God gave Moses a second sign. He had to put his hand inside his cloak against his chest. When he pulled it out, it was snow white with the terrible sickness of leprosy. And when he put it back, and pulled it out once more, the leprosy disappeared. Then God said to Moses, "When you go to the people of Israel and they refuse to listen to you, show them these two signs. If they still will not listen, dip some water out of the river and pour it out on the ground. It will turn to blood." Moses was still afraid. He argued that he was not a good speaker. This time, God was angry and said, "Am I not the Lord who made man's mouth? Do I not make all men? Aaron the Levite is your brother. When you get to Egypt, he will come out to meet you. He will go with you, and he will be your spokesman. But do not forget your walking stick. You will have to use it to show great signs." So Moses took his wife and sons and returned to Egypt. As God had said, Aaron came out to meet Moses. And Moses told him all. Then together they went and gathered together all elders of Israel, gave them God's message, and showed them the signs.